How do guys, it's Luke at Geekgaming Scenics, and in this video I'm going to have a go at painting some models without using a paintbrush. Am I an idiot? Yeah, I'll catch you after this. So guys, yes, I am going to attempt to paint some models without using a paintbrush. The reason I want to do this is just to experiment and see if there's any other tools we can add to his bow rather than just using a paintbrush for everything. I like using a paintbrush and I'm very happy with that, but there's no harm in playing around with other things, is there? I have done a video similar to this about 3 years ago and it was quite well accepted. And this is going to sort of tie on from that, be a lot better quality as well, but it means that we can sort of experiment a bit more, try a few more things, and see what sort of effects we get. And I think this is going to be pretty fun for kids, if you want to get your kids involved. So let's get the cameras down and let's get rolling. So without using a brush, getting a base coat down, I thought I'll use a spray can. That's the easiest way of doing it. Now from that I'm using these Fly C acrylic marker pens. They're actually acrylic paint with a really high pigment. How they work is it's like a sponge nib that's quite firm, and you press them down and the paint flows into the nib. First thing that I came to find an issue with them is controlling the amount of paint in the nib. The longer you hold it, the more paint's in there, so that is a technique we have to work on. The second issue is, look at the size of that nib. This wasn't simple at all. I reached into the Gundam markers because there was a panel liner in there. Now this panel liner, I thought it was going to be black. It isn't, it's like a very transparent dark grey, which is, you know, for shading. But what actually happened is it grabbed the black paint and moved it around and acted a bit more like a brush. Now speaking from experience, if I had a black Sharpie pen, this would have been effortless. The points on Sharpie pens are just far superior. So if you are a connoisseur of the Sharpie, you will find that the black pen is better for this. I just didn't have one, so I was using what I've got. Now what the panel liner is good for is, guess what, it's panel lining. At first I did mess this up a little bit, but it does rub off quite easy while it's wet. But with a bit of practice I actually started to quite like it for a very quick job, as in it's a bit obnoxious in places sometimes. But for just drawing round like your shoulder pads and things like that, for getting a little bit of shaded in there to add a bit of visual interest that's not very hard. I mean, it's a firm point, so it's quite easy to do, and if you make a mistake it just rubs off and you can correct with it, and it works rather well. Now I thought I'd try some colours. I wasn't expecting much from the colours because I thought it was going to be transparent. However, they go on in one coat. They're really good for that. The only issue I was having is, look, I mean, it's the size of the nib, and it was starting to annoy me a bit because I liked everything about how they went on. It was just getting hard work, so I thought I'd shave it down with a craft knife. Pencil sharpener probably would have been a bit better, but I didn't have one. But this got the nib down to a relatively usable point. The only thing that I did do was put too much paint in the nib, which you'll see as I'm putting this on. But it made it far easier to use. And I think if we did use a pencil sharpener on these pens, it would bring it to a nice sharper point. After looking back at the package as well, I did realise that it said 2 to 3 millimeters. So I guess they sell them in different nib sizes, so we might be able to get a very fine point one as well, so I'll keep my eyes out for them. Now the one colour that I was really worried about was white. It never covers well anyway, but this little Gundam marker covered pretty well, as in I was quite shocked. It could do with a second coat, but for one coat and one pass with a Gundam marker, it's pretty impressive. Now we all know that metallic Sharpies are amazing. I, from time to time, still use Sharpies for edging. Even if it's a personal project I can't really be bothered, I just get the Sharpie pen out and just draw on my minis. It's just really easy and it gives a very nice flat metallic base, and it's just so easy to get round the shoulder pads. I suck at doing like shoulder pads. I always slip up and mess when I'm using a brush. Doing it with a pen with a firm nib like this, I can just nail it every time and I don't mess up. It's very easy to use. Now while I was doing all these metallics without using a paintbrush, I was thinking to myself, how the hell am I gonna get the eyes done? I'm kind of liking how they're looking. They've taken literally no time at all. They're just throwing these metallics on pretty quickly, and the few colours that I've used are going on really quickly and easily. And I kept looking at the eyes thinking, I've got to paint the eyes or they're going to look terrible. How am I going to do it? And because of the old video and how it was about not spending too much money, I didn't want to even use any paint from a pot. So I thought what would be a good idea is to use the paint pens and try something that's not a brush. So let's see how we get on. Right, now to paint the eyes, I'm not even going to use paint. I'm going to use these pens. I'm going to put a bit on this box, and then I'm going to use a cocktail stick to see if I can get that in their eyes. So let's see how this goes. It dries very quickly. There we go. Get a decent amount on there. What a stupid challenge. It is a stupid challenge, and all I'm thinking now is how the hell am I going to get a wash on these? And I'm trying to think of things that are porous, and I thought, you know what? Wood's porous, let's try a lollipop stick. And then using this lollipop stick, I'm going to apply a wash all over it. You sure you're going to know how to edit that out properly? I'm sure I'll be able to edit it out. I'm a pro. You sure? Yes, I'm sure. Alright, alright. I've said my piece. Make sure you do it right. Jokes aside, I could have dip washed it, but I just didn't want to go out and buy the materials to make a dip wash because of COVID and everything, so I just used a brush. My bad. So I just based them and finished them off, and I sat back and had a good look at them, and I thought, you know what? If you didn't have any paints and you only had a bit of money for, you know, a couple of pens, you can do okay jobs. The whole thing that spurred this video off was a viewer asking how can I paint up a couple of models for my kids. I don't have any paints, and I said grab some Sharpies. I'm pretty happy with what you can do with just a few pens and a spray can and, you know, a few bits. It doesn't have to be expensive, and if you can get more kids into it by just chucking a few pens at them, I'm down with that. What do you think? So guys, I hope you've enjoyed the video. The paint pens for me are something to look a bit further into. Because they go on in one coat, the bold end is a bit of annoying, but I found on the box it does say like a nib size, so hopefully I should be able to find some finer ones, and that would be nice. My main thing with these paint pens is I think it's a nice introducive way to bring kids into it. It's just colouring in, innit? So you give them that, you're not having to give them some old frayed brushes or your paints and things that cost you a fortune. Them pens, I think it's 12 for about a tenner-ish. And they work really well. They go on one coat, which going on in one coat is good because it keeps people interested because they don't have to build layer and layer and layer of paint up. And kids have a short attention span, and I think it's something to play with. So I'll keep my eyes out. I'll see if I can find some finer nibs and have another play and see what I can achieve. But I am going to say this now. The Sharpies are so impressive. The metallics, like the brass, the gold and the silver, I'll continue to use them even on my own stuff for more or less everything whenever I can. Just using, it's so much better than gold paint. It really is. It's like using the liquid gold from like Vallejo. It's that sort of stuff because obviously it's a spirit-based metallic. It just works really well and goes on in one coat. It's great. The one eye-opener for me with that little panel liner pen, I know it doesn't look absolutely amazing, but I think with practice it would be quite good and quick because you don't have to keep loading your brush up. We'll play with it a bit more and see how we get on. But as a whole, guys, it's not going to replace your brushes at all. Brushes are far better. You can learn brush control. You can learn it a lot better and achieve far better things. The pens is just a laugh. It's something to maybe make speed painting a little bit quicker. You know, just if you're trying to knock stuff out, you do the monotonous things quite quickly when it's just a pen. It's one of them shortcuts that's not particularly amazing, but it's better than not doing it. And that's the whole point of this video anyway. But if kids enjoy it, then it's a good video, isn't it? But anyway, guys, thanks for watching and thanks for tuning in. If you do want to support me, the base Reddit that I use and everything will be all in the links below. I'll keep saying this to you guys. Use your local shops, okay? Go to them if you can buy it from your local shops, whether you're in America, Australia, Europe, even in the UK. Try buying from your local shops and support them. We're still in a lockdown, so support your local shops. If they don't have what we've got in stock, then obviously come to us. Not much you can do about it, but we're keeping them stocked. Everything's still ticking over nicely from this side. So support your local shops, guys, and send them some love. But anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. And yeah, I'll catch you next week for it's going to be a bloody awesome video. I can't wait for it. I'll see you then. Oh yeah, love, love, love. Forget my own ending.